Barnes. Please go ahead, Dan.
Hi, this is for Kyle. Kyle, I know you had some success with the global program, and I just wonder what you think of the depth of the current global crop and whether it continues to be a good sense for the CFL to put whatever resources it does into that scouting initiative.
Well, the first one is that's not my place to comment on where the CFL puts their resources. Our job is to, when the directive is laid out, and try to put the best squad on the field and find the best players. So, yeah, we've had some success with players and take it serious. And Mike and his staff, once the players are in the building, and we've talked about this through the years, whether it's American, Canadian, German, Japanese, French, it doesn't really matter what your passport says. Once you're in our building, you're treated equally and will be expected to perform. And if you're dressing on game days, then you're going to step on the field. So it's as much about giving these guys an opportunity rather than us doing anything different than anybody else, I think. And yeah, there's some good players in this draft again. You know, there'll be some fringe NFL guys that we'll have to wait and see, and it's a strong group of punters as always. So we'll now we get to see some of the players from the global combines that we're not too familiar with. So we'll get to see them running around and compete with some of the Canadian kids. So it's exciting for them.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you, Dan. Next questions from Derek Taylor. Please go ahead, Derek.
Kyle, what do you get from the combine that you don't get from seeing a guy on tape or talking to his coaches, perhaps behind the scenes? What do you get from the combine this week?
What the best thing about the combine is the competition level, that you get to see them in person. You know, you get to see them competing against the best, and I'm excited about this year where you get to spend more time with them, rather than generally the players do their testing and then maybe 10 minutes of indie and 10 minutes of one-on-ones and they're on their way. You get an extended period to evaluate them. So this is a big piece of the puzzle. You know the testing that they'll go through, and then seeing how they compete. And we always talk about pulling out the passion for players. Do they really love the game? And I think you're watching them practice for 3 days is going to give us a better answer in that regard. That's for sure. So it's good. I can't wait to get started.
I struggle with seeing a guy at one level of football and projecting how he'll be when he goes to play with better athletes and smarter athletes. Do you have any help you can give to us on how we can project a guy from the college level to the pro level?
Yeah, I mean, there's the multiple of this. Certainly, this from the scouting standpoint, it's the height, weight, speed, the measurables that has to translate. But then, you know, there's a compete level that, from your point on the film standpoint, and you know, the players, you combine all of that and make the evaluation, combining, you know, everything that you see. But yes, there is generally a height, weight, speed requirement that, you know, with the exception of our president, most CFL players have met for their careers.
Sorry, I enjoyed that one a lot. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Derek. Next questions from Paul Friesen. Please go ahead, Paul.
Hey, I'll try to keep you awake, Mike, and send this one to you. A lot of player movement this offseason, again, as there always is, but some big moves, you know, some quarterbacks changing sides. I'm just wondering how much the lay of the land has changed and which of those teams or moves intrigue you most, maybe.
Yeah, there was a significant number of big moves. I thought some teams loaded up pretty darn good. I think from our standpoint, and that's really all we worry about, is we managed to keep a lot of guys and add a couple pieces that we weren't sure we were going to get necessarily, and we did, and we kept some guys that we weren't sure we were going to get to keep. So our football team is probably as intact as it can be in a cap situation, free agency situation type league that we have. We're pretty pleased. What everybody else does, well, that's their plan, and it's, once again, it's as a fan, it's neat to look at it from afar, but as the head coach, I don't spend a lot of time worried about what other teams did.
Right. how about a quick follow-up on what Kenny Lawler then adds to your team and how you see your receiving core this year compared to maybe all the receiving cores you've had over the years?
Yeah, it's damn good. You know, it's pretty simple. Kenny is talked about as being the best receiver in the CFL. That's where his name belongs, and we'd like to give him the opportunity to catch more footballs, and the group around him is damn good too. So we got to find a way to manufacture more footballs and get them out there in the field of play.
Thanks.
Thank you, Paul. Next questions from Head Tate. Please go ahead, Head.
Hey guys, thank you for doing this. Question for Kyle. How does this combine or this week, Kyle, affect the draft board? Like, have you already got rankings, and how does this impact it? What happens in the next few days?
Yeah, no, I would say right now most of the film, it's been film study and watching them play throughout the year. So, you know, they've been graded and you've been looked at, but yeah, this is a huge piece of the puzzle, Ed. Like we'll go back with the coaches after this, they'll watch and you know, you'll put that piece to the of the puzzle together. So in a couple of weeks, we'll start really putting together a top 70 list and things like that. So right now within the positional groups, Ed, I've got a pretty good idea of who I like based on the film study, and it's always interesting to come out here and see a couple players that maybe you didn't see much on film or not as much as you liked, and they come out here and test really well and have a great week, and you know you sort of raise those players up a little bit, and conversely some of the players with those are the tough ones when you see players with really good film and you really like them, and then they don't have a great week this week. That's sort of the conundrum you find yourself in of the really good film versus the maybe not a great combine week. Where do you slot them in?
Mike, what do you put most stock in for the next few days? What do you? Is the interview the most important thing? Is it what you see on the field? Is it the whole thing? What stands out for you the most?
Yeah, it has to be the whole thing. You, like in any training camp situation, this is like a little mini camp for them. You have to evaluate everything. You try to take in as much detail as possible. Try to be aware of you know, everything they're doing. I think we have the benefit this year of having extra days and being able to be around them in a sort of a training camp, mini camp setting where they're going to be in the classroom learning and see what they can take out on the field. As always, you know, physicality and toughness and compete level is going to be very important. And then once again, pretty well equal to that is how these guys conduct their business. You know, are they ready to be a pro or not? And once again, focusing more on what they can do and not really worrying about what you think they can't do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Head. We'll do a last call for questions already. Next questions from Derek Taylor. Please go ahead, Derek.
Kyle, do you come into a week like this knowing we need A, B, and C in the draft, or are you wide open to whoever may present themselves?
You certainly look at we will certainly look at our roster and say, well, here's some areas where we sure could use some depth with our Canadian talent. And but you really, and I've said this to Mike and Ted already, we just can't reach for a player because we believe it's a positional need that tends to get you in trouble. So, you know, we'll just make sure we draft players we like and that fit all the criteria that Mike was talking about. And, you know, they're good football players regardless of position. We'll find a spot for them on our team.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Derek. Next question is from Paul Friesen. Please go ahead, Paul.
Kyle, can you take us a bit behind the scenes on how Rashid Bailey ended up coming back to Winnipeg?
No, I mean, it was, you know, Rashid wanted to be a Bomber and it took a while to get it sorted out, but at the end of the day, we were able to get him back. So it was you know, we're happy, Rashid's happy, and you know, that's they all the negotiations and how players get to a finalized contract are very different, and this was no different. That it was different than the rest, I guess I'd say. Yeah. So we're happy he's back.
Okay, and Mike, lost a Bomber legend last weekend, and just wonder if you mind sharing your experiences, how many times you met Bud Grant, and what your impressions were.
Yeah, I think the easiest answer is not enough.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't, as with a lot of people in life, when they, deal with someone that's passed, there's often regret, and I think mine would be that I didn't nearly tap into that resource as much as you should have. And when it's gone, that's one of the things, besides obviously the man and what that loss would mean to his family and two big football communities. What a lost resource, just a brilliant leader, and didn't spend nearly as much time as I should have with him.
Yeah. Too bad he didn't have an office here instead of in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Paul. Last questions from Head Tate. Please go ahead, Head.
Question for you, Mike. We've heard an awful lot about the expanded format for this combine and the more on-field sessions. How has that changed, say, compared to when you were at the combine? What's different about the combine now compared to your time?
Well, we're not feeding them Big Macs in between drills, working out on the soccer dome, jumping up, doing vertical against an I-beam, with chalk on your finger. But it's all good. In my mind, I think, throwing all these guys into a situation like that for an hour where it's really less than ideal could tell a lot about guys, right? A lot of these kids have benefited coming from really well-funded programs, and they have everything at their disposal. Not all of them, but hey, here's some cinder blocks. Throw them around for a bit, and then run around on a slippery field and do your best. I'd like to see that too. Put them in a tough, stressful situation.
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you, Mike.
If you want to contact us by email me at candidfrank@hotmail.com. Watch us and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Candid Frank Stanishi 1030, or message me on Facebook at Candid Frank Stanishi for any ideas or comments you have about the program. Thanks for watching, everybody. Until next time.